All right, so there you go. Russ's smile during that, I think, is telling. Mina Kimes' smile, watching him say all of that, pretty telling. Mina, what do you make of Russ's comments?
I mean, the teams' names out there, the teams that Russell Wilson would, I guess, have hypothetically been open to going to, they were out there for a reason. We can parse out who put them out there, who said what to who, but what we do know, and I think I feel comfortable saying this, is that pressure was applied. And at this moment, it's not about whether Russell Wilson wants to leave the Seahawks. He's going to be a Seahawk in 2021. It's about the pressure to win now, the pressure to your organization to maximize the roster during your Super Bowl window. And I think that's the question that the Seahawks team is going to face this season. Obviously, it's a question every team faces, but I think more so for Seattle. Did you do everything in your power to appease your quarterback, improve the personnel around him so that they can win now? Because if they don't, I think all of these questions will come back next offseason.
Yeah, look, I think there's no doubt that what Russ was saying was this. You never heard me say I wanted to be traded.
All right.
Y'all may have said it. My agent may have suggested it, intimated it, said, hey, there's a couple teams that he would play for if you want to trade him, if you happen to want to deal him somewhere else. But I didn't say it. Because you know what? I mean, look, Russell has to know this. He has to play it on both sides, right? If I get out of here, these are the places I'd like to go. I would like to go if you decide to trade me. If not, I need to also still look in the faces of the other 52 players in this locker room. I still need to have the trust of my offensive line, and I have to trust them. I still have to have the trust of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and they have to trust me. I still have a young guy like Dwayne Eskridge who's coming in here who I'm real excited about, a guy who's a speed burner. So I still may be here, and now that I am here, I need everybody to know that I'm moving forward. But look, everybody in the NFL, they're big boys, they're grown men. They understand how the business works, and they understand for sure, Laura, how the landscape has changed nowadays when it comes to quarterbacks and high-profile players overall. They wield the power now, and they're going to use it when they see fit.
Yeah, and that's why maybe I'm crazy, but listening to Russell, I couldn't help but think of Aaron Rodgers. I couldn't help but think in a couple months, are we going to be listening to Aaron Rodgers say similar things as far as, I always wanted to be here. I love this city. I wanted to finish my career here, but, things kind of snowballed. And, and here's the thing, Lewis and Mina touched on it. Star QBs, they're putting their organizations on notice. So even though Russell is back in Seattle and he's happy, he put everybody on notice that there could be a future without me here. As much as he may not have said that, there's been enough talk where now we can envision he's there in 2021, but what about 2022? Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he comes back in 2021, but there's a future beyond their current franchises. And now I think all the star QBs from Tom Brady, Rodgers, they all know that there's life beyond where they are right now.
Yeah, they have a lot of power. So what will this actually look like in 2021? Let Russ cook, of course, the Seahawks offensive mentality. But Wilson's deep ball wasn't exactly great down the stretch. A big reason for their offensive regression, of course. Wilson had an NFL-high 5 touchdowns without a pick on passes 20 yards downfield in the first 5 weeks. We're all talking about him being the MVP, but 4 touchdowns with 4 picks the rest of the way. He was less efficient, too, with a 29% completion rate on such throws from week 6 to 17, which was 29th out of 33 quarterbacks. So, Mina, they got a new offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron there. What is this offense going to look like with him calling plays for Russ?
Well, Laura, Waldron comes from the, ever fruitful Sean McVay coaching tree. It's not going to be a direct copy, however. The personnel at this point are too different, particularly on the offensive line. But I think the hope in Seattle is that Waldron can do what McVay, Shanahan, coaches around the NFL have done with so much success, which is essentially dictated to defenses. Lewis, Kimberley, right now the NFL is basically about, are you on offense dictating to defenses, confusing them, constantly keeping them on tilt, or are defenses doing that to you? Yep. Last year in the second half of the season, defenses did that to Seattle. You saw they played a ton of too high, which took away those explosive plays, and they did not respond. And by the way, they includes Russell Wilson, but it also includes the scheme. Waldron needs to come up with what he basically needs to do is what the Rams do so successfully, which is force defenses to respond to what they're doing by keeping them confused. And if they're able to do that, I think Seattle's offense can hit another gear.
Yeah, no question about that. Listen, I think this offense overall, philosophically, is one that really utilizes formation variation, motion, play action in such a way that it takes a lot of the pressure off of the quarterback in terms of him having to create post-snap, because it's schematically, it's drawn up in such a way that it puts the defenses in such a bind as far as run-pass conflict, as far as making sure that they're pattern matching in the back end once the route's declared in such a way that, their coverage is sound. And the quarterback just has to sit there and read it out. With Russ, as you see what happens with a lot of times in Seattle's offenses over the years, a lot of times it came down to Russ drop back and make something happen, man. If things aren't open, you got to run around, scramble around, and make things happen. Oh, by the way, you got to do this with an offensive line that, quite honestly, in pass protection has had some difficulties. I think what he will benefit from is that philosophical difference. And hopefully Shane Waldron, from that perspective, can help him out, which will make him much happier and more inclined to want to stay in Seattle.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.